Chosen ones, the cosmic joke is on everyone who thought they silenced you, when the real punchline is this: you were loud and right, burning truth into the atmosphere when they needed to hear it most, and now you've become silent but deadly, wielding a power so profound that your very presence rewrites the laws of reality around you. The voice that shattered their illusions has transformed into a silence that devastates their delusions, and what they're about to witness will leave them questioning everything they thought they knew about power, purpose, and the unstoppable force of a chosen one who has finally stepped into their divine assignment. Remember those moments when you stood alone, speaking words that felt like fire in your throat, while the world looked at you like you'd lost your mind. Remember how your voice cracked with conviction as you warned them, pleaded with them, tried desperately to wake them up from their sleepwalk toward destruction. You were loud, chosen one, loud and absolutely devastatingly right. But here's what no one told you then: that loudness was just the opening act of a cosmic performance that would ultimately require your most profound silence. The transformation happening now isn't coincidence. It's the harvest of seeds you planted in the darkness, watered with your tears, and tended with a faith that everyone else called foolishness. While they were busy building their houses of cards, you were cultivating something eternal in the invisible realm. The roots grew deep while no one was watching. The foundations solidified while they mocked your methods. And now, as the full bloom of your becoming breaks through the surface of ordinary reality, the same people who questioned your sanity are witnessing a blossoming so undeniable it renders their criticism obsolete. But this story has layers within layers, chosen one, and we're just beginning to peel back the surface. The voice that once had to fight to be heard now carries a different kind of power, the power of results that speak louder than any words ever could. What you thought was your ending was actually your metamorphosis beginning, and what looked like your greatest failures were divinely orchestrated redirections toward a destiny so magnificent it required you to be stripped of everything familiar first. The people who tried to silence you are discovering something that chills them to the bone. Your silence is more threatening than your voice ever was. When someone who has been loud and right suddenly becomes quiet, the wise ones pay attention. They sense the shift in atmospheric pressure that precedes the storm. They feel the ground trembling beneath their feet and wonder what seismic event is building momentum in the spaces between your words. Your former enemies are beginning to realize they weren't fighting against you, they were fighting against their own healing, their own evolution, their own uncomfortable confrontation with truth. Every arrow they aimed at your character was actually ricocheting back toward the mirror of their own souls, and now that mirror is reflecting images they're not prepared to face. The cosmic court is in session, chosen one, and evidence is being presented that will vindicate every tear you shed, every night you lay awake wondering if you were losing your mind, every moment you questioned whether you were truly called or simply delusional. The underground kingdom you've been building in secret is rising to the surface with a power that surprises even you. All those years of shadow work, spiritual labor, and invisible alignment are now manifesting as visible, undeniable transformation. The resources are flowing, the opportunities are multiplying, the right people are appearing at exactly the right moments, as if the universe itself is orchestrating a symphony of synchronicities designed to catapult you into your next level of existence. What's happening isn't just personal healing, it's a wholesale exodus from the systems that once enslaved your potential. That 9-to-5 reality that felt like prison is becoming a distant memory as divine downloads flood your consciousness with business ideas, creative projects, and healing modalities that feel less like work and more like the natural expression of your authentic self. The entrepreneurial spirit awakening within you isn't driven by desperation but by inspiration, not by the need to escape something but by the magnetic pull towards something greater. The financial blessings aren't random windfalls, they're the compound interest on investments you made in your own growth when everyone else was spending their energy on distractions. Every book you read while they binge-watch television, every therapy session you attended while they avoided their issues, every moment you chose healing over numbing is now paying dividends in ways that seem miraculous but are actually the natural result of spiritual mathematics. Those who mocked your journey toward wholeness are now scrambling to understand how you moved from victim to victor, from surviving to thriving, from chaos to that unnaturally calm energy that makes others feel simultaneously inspired and threatened. The calmer you become, the more their agitation increases, the more peaceful your presence grows, the more their inner turmoil surfaces. This isn't coincidence, chosen one. You've become a walking, breathing catalyst for transformation, and people are either drawn to your light or triggered by its brightness. The mirror you've become reflects not judgment but truth, and truth has a way of revealing what's been hidden in the shadows of the human heart. Some people look into this mirror and see possibilities for growth, healing, and evolution. Others see only accusations, threats to their carefully constructed delusions, and uncomfortable reminders of the work they've been avoiding. The mirror doesn't choose what it reflects, it simply shows what is, and what is becoming increasingly visible is the vast chasm between those who are willing to grow and those who would rather shatter the mirror than face what it reveals. Your transformation isn't happening in isolation, it's forcing everyone in your orbit to confront their own crossroads. The circus is on the left, with its familiar chaos, predictable drama, and comfortable dysfunction. The roller coaster is on the right, representing the thrilling uncertainty of growth, the exhilarating terror of becoming, and the breathtaking beauty of a life lived at its highest potential. Each person must choose, and your very existence is the catalyst making that choice unavoidable. Some people in your past are realizing they've been living in Looney Tunes land, wearing rainbow wigs and oversized shoes, performing for an audience that stopped laughing long ago. The revelation that they've been the comic relief in their own tragedy is hitting them with the force of divine awakening. They could remove the costume, wipe off the makeup, put on clothes that fit, and step into their authentic power. Or they could double down on the performance, insisting that anyone who points out their costume must be the problem. The ones who refuse to let go of who you used to be are discovering that their attachment to your past self says everything about their present state and nothing about your future destiny. They're trying to keep red strings tied to a person who no longer exists, attempting to resurrect a dynamic that served their ego but starved your soul. The major cycle that needed to end is ending, whether they participate in the completion ceremony or not. What you're witnessing is the natural consequence of spiritual physics in action. Every cause is finally meeting its effect. Every seed is finally bearing its fruit. Every investment is finally yielding its return. The people who planted seeds of criticism are harvesting fields of irrelevance. The people who planted seeds of support are harvesting gardens of mutual elevation. And you, chosen one, who planted seeds of truth, even when the ground felt hostile, are harvesting a reality so abundant it silences every critic and validates every sacrifice. The timeline is accelerating now in ways that should terrify anyone still living in denial, but for you it feels like coming home to a truth you've always known but couldn't quite articulate. The coming days will reveal harvests from seeds you forgot you planted. Opportunities will present themselves with such obvious divine orchestration that even the skeptics will have to acknowledge something supernatural is at work. The hard and honest work you thought went unnoticed is about to be rewarded in ways that exceed your highest expectations. The cosmic choreography orchestrating your rise is so precise, so perfectly timed, that it would seem impossible if you weren't living it yourself. Every person who exits your life creates space for someone better aligned to enter. Every door that closes behind you opens 3 more ahead of you. Every loss that once felt devastating is revealing itself as divine redirection towards something infinitely more suited to your authentic self. The people who used to make you question your own perception are now questioning their own judgment as your predictions manifest with startling accuracy. The warnings you gave that they dismissed as paranoia are proving prophetic, The advice they rejected as too simplistic or too complex is being validated by consequences they could have avoided if they'd listened. The boundaries you set that they called unreasonable are now the only things protecting them from chaos of their own making. Your nervous system, once constantly activated by their dysfunction, now remains calm in situations that would have previously sent you into reactive spirals. The triggers that used to hijack your emotional state bounce off your newfound equilibrium like stones skipping across still water. The drama that once consumed your mental energy now feels like background noise from a television playing in another room, audible but irrelevant to your present reality. The creative projects that languished in half-finished states are suddenly flowing toward completion with effortless momentum. The business ventures that struggled for months to gain traction are attracting exactly the right partnerships, funding, and market conditions for explosive growth. The artistic expressions that felt too vulnerable to share are finding audiences who understand their depth and appreciate their authenticity in ways that exceed your wildest hopes. The living spaces that once felt heavy with stagnant energy are transforming into sanctuaries of peace and inspiration. Whether through renovation, relocation, or simply the shift in your own vibration, your environment is reflecting your internal transformation in tangible ways. The clutter that once overwhelmed you is naturally organizing itself or leaving your space entirely. The decor that felt mismatched is either harmonizing beautifully or being replaced by pieces that perfectly capture your evolved aesthetic. Your physical appearance is changing in ways that surprise even you, not through external manipulation but through the natural radiance that comes from living in alignment with your purpose. The stress lines are softening, the posture is improving, the eyes are brighter, the skin is clearer, the energy is more vibrant. People are commenting on how different you look, how much younger you appear, how much more attractive you've become, though they can't quite pinpoint what has changed beyond an ineffable quality of being more authentically yourself. Your evolution is rippling through dimensions in ways that affect people you haven't spoken to in years. Former classmates are suddenly remembering conversations with you that they dismissed at the time but now realize were prophetic. Ex-colleagues are recognizing patterns in their current situations that match warnings you gave long ago. Past romantic partners are comparing their present relationships to the depth and authenticity you brought to their lives, often finding the current connections shallow by comparison. The energetic signature you're emanating now is so distinct, so powerful, that it's activating healing responses in people who merely think about you. Some are experiencing spontaneous realizations about their own self-sabotaging behaviors. Others are feeling inexplicable urges to change careers, end toxic relationships, or pursue creative passions they'd abandoned. A few are even reaching out with apologies for how they treated you, though many more are simply making different choices without fully understanding why your influence continues to guide them toward better decisions. The financial transformation accelerating in your life isn't just about money, it's about energy exchange, finally flowing in directions that honor your worth rather than exploit your giving nature. The underpaid positions that consumed your time while undervaluing your contributions are being replaced by opportunities that compensate you fairly for the unique gifts you bring. The clients or customers who tried to negotiate down your prices are being replaced by people who appreciate quality and pay accordingly. The investments you made in your own growth, the courses, coaching, therapy, books, retreats, are paying returns that compound in ways that seem magical but follow precise spiritual laws. Your creative expressions are finding audiences that understand and appreciate the depth of what you're offering. The art that felt too weird, the writing that seemed too vulnerable, the ideas that appeared too revolutionary, all of it is finding its perfect recipients who've been searching for exactly what you've been creating. The platforms that once ignored your submissions are either opening their doors or becoming irrelevant as new opportunities emerge that align better with your evolved vision. The health challenges that once seemed like cruel obstacles are revealing themselves as divine redirections that forced you to discover healing modalities, lifestyle changes, and self-care practices that now serve as the foundation for unprecedented vitality. The weight you lost wasn't just physical, it was the energetic density of carrying other people's emotional baggage. The sleep you're finally getting isn't just rest, it's integration time for the massive upgrades your consciousness has been downloading. The foods you're craving aren't just nutrition, they're vibrational matches for your elevated frequency. The spiritual abilities that used to frighten you with their intensity are now becoming tools for serving others who are ready for the kind of deep healing and transformation you can facilitate. The intuitive hits that once seemed random are now revealing their perfect timing and accuracy as you track their fulfillment over weeks and months. The dreams that felt chaotic are now showing clear patterns of prophetic guidance and symbolic instruction for your next phases of growth. The people you lost during your darkest periods, through death, distance, or disagreement, are making their presence known in ways that confirm their continued investment in your success. Signs, synchronicities, and supernatural confirmations are arriving with such frequency and specificity that even your most skeptical moments dissolve into wonder. The ancestors you never met are somehow communicating approval and assistance. The mentors who passed away are sending validation through the mouths of strangers who speak words they would have said. This convergence of support from seen and unseen realms is creating a momentum in your life that feels simultaneously thrilling and overwhelming. Projects that used to struggle for traction are suddenly receiving exactly the resources, connections, and opportunities needed for explosive growth. Ideas that gestated in solitude are finding collaborative partners who share your vision and complement your skills perfectly. Visions that seemed too big for your current capacity are proving to be right-sized for your emerging capabilities. The garden metaphor becomes viscerally real as you survey the landscape of your life compared to theirs. While they were cultivating weeds of gossip, negativity, and drama, you were growing roses of resilience, orchards of opportunity, and forests of wisdom. The contrast isn't subtle anymore. The evidence isn't debatable. The garden doesn't lie, and neither does the trajectory of a life aligned with divine purpose. Your former role as the family scapegoat, the corporate sacrifice, the relationship's problem person, has been officially retired by cosmic decree. The position is no longer available because the person who used to accept that treatment no longer exists. In their place stands someone who knows their worth, understands their power, and refuses to participate in dynamics that diminish either. This isn't arrogance, it's spiritual maturity. This isn't selfishness, it's self-preservation. This isn't rebellion, it's revolution. The silent thunder phase you've entered is perhaps the most powerful stage of the Chosen One journey. Words were necessary when you were learning to find your voice, when you were testing your truth against the world's lies, when you were building the confidence to stand alone if necessary. But now your life has become the sermon, your reality has become the testimony. Your transformation has become the evidence that renders all arguments obsolete. The people who used to drain your energy with their chaos can no longer access your frequency. The situations that used to trigger your trauma responses now bounce off your energetic armor like raindrops off a lotus leaf. The critics who used to make you question your sanity now sound like children arguing about fairy tales, amusing in their passion, but ultimately irrelevant to your reality. The mirror you've become for others is reflecting not just their shadows, but also their potential. Some people see the darkness and flee, others see the light and move toward it. Both responses are necessary parts of the cosmic sorting happening on the planet right now. You're not responsible for how people react to their reflection. You're only responsible for maintaining the clarity of the mirror. The season of proof has arrived with the subtlety of a spiritual tsunami, washing away the debris of illusion and leaving only what's built on the solid foundation of truth. The facts are undeniable, the receipts are overwhelming, the evidence is everywhere. People can see you now, Chosen One, not the distorted version they created in their minds to justify their treatment of you, but the actual you, in all your transformed glory. The 7 to 14-day prophecy unfolding before you is just the beginning of harvests that will continue for seasons to come. What you planted in tears is blooming in triumph. What you sowed in sacrifice is flowering in abundance. What you buried in apparent failure is rising in undeniable success. The seeds were always viable, they just needed time to germinate in the darkness before breaking through to the light. The crossroads catalyst you've become is forcing everyone in your sphere to make choices they've been avoiding for years, maybe decades. The circus represents the familiar chaos of dysfunction, drama, and denial. The roller coaster represents the uncertain thrill of growth, healing, and becoming. The choice is theirs, but your very presence makes the choice impossible to postpone indefinitely. Now I want to take a moment to tell you about a few individuals that shouldn't exist: a trained occultist who escaped from a satanic coven, a former Black Ops drone pilot who flew swarms with his mind, a multi-millionaire psychic CFO who predicted market shifts before they happened. What do these remarkable individuals have in common? You'll find them all in the Obsidian Inner Order, where they share their forbidden knowledge on our private Discord server. My chosen soul has drunk deep from the well of knowledge aeon after aeon. In this incarnation, these extraordinary individuals became my allies in the Obsidian Inner Order. They recognized the call, they stepped forward, they connected with others who understand their unique gifts and burdens. What is stopping you from manifesting the same? The synchronicities that brought them here weren't accidents, neither is your discovery of this message. When souls of this caliber gather, the Archons take notice. They fear our collective power. They know what happens when the truly awakened find each other. Join our weekly calls. Hear their stories firsthand. Share your own journey with those who won't dismiss or doubt you. The knowledge exchanged in our private channels cannot be found anywhere else on this plane. Click the link in the description below now. The extraordinary souls await your arrival. The question isn't whether you belong among them. The question is, how much longer will you wait to claim your place? The quiet victory you're experiencing requires no defense, no explanation, no justification to anyone who wasn't present for the journey. Your life has become the testimony that silences critics and validates every sacrifice made along the way. The garden doesn't lie about the quality of soil, the consistency of care, or the wisdom of the gardener. The harvest speaks for itself in languages that transcend words. The silent thunder mastery you've achieved represents the integration of every lesson learned in the loud seasons and every insight gained in the quiet seasons. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent isn't just tactical wisdom, it's spiritual maturity. Understanding that your presence can shift atmospheres without uttering a word isn't just personal power, it's divine alignment. The chosen one promise being fulfilled in your life wasn't just about personal vindication, it was about cosmic validation of truth itself. Your suffering had purpose beyond your understanding at the time. Your silence carried power beyond your awareness in the moment. Your season of recognition arrived precisely when the world needed to witness what transformation looks like when someone commits fully to the process. As the garden of your life reaches full bloom, the contrast between what you've cultivated and what others have grown becomes undeniably clear. The roses of resilience you planted in pain now perfume the air with possibilities. The orchards of opportunity you tended in isolation now offer fruit to anyone humble enough to receive. The forests of wisdom you grew in solitude now provide shelter for other travelers on the path. The circular narrative of your journey reveals its perfect symmetry as the voice that once had to fight to be heard now commands attention through the sheer force of authentic living. The silence that once felt like suppression now resonates with the power of someone who has nothing left to prove and everything to offer. The paradox resolves into perfect harmony. You were loud and right when the world needed to hear truth, and you are silent but deadly now that your life has become the living embodiment of that truth. The transformation is complete, chosen one, but the impact is just beginning. Your story has become a beacon for others still finding their way out of the wilderness, still questioning whether their struggles have meaning, still wondering whether their voice matters in a world that seems deaf to wisdom. They see your garden and remember that growth is possible. They witness your peace and recall that healing is available. They observe your abundance and realize that breakthrough isn't just a beautiful theory, it's a lived reality, accessible to anyone willing to plant the right seeds and tend them with unwavering faith. The thunder that once roared through your voice now rumbles through your very existence, and the silence that once felt like death has become the womb from which your authentic life was finally born.